everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Katarina. Yes, you are reading right. I'm going to start a project where I'm trying to pan my entire eyeshadow collection. But before that, if you're new, I do film videos about beauty and style, focusing on using what I have and trying to be a more mindful consumer. Also, I'm on a journey to become a better version of myself, so I do film some videos about personal development. So if those topics are interesting to you, I would really love it if you subscribed to my channel. So yeah, I have been panning eyeshadows for quite a few years now. I started my first pan that palette in 2018, and one issue that I have had with panning eyeshadow has been the fact that I have been really hyper focused on whatever I have been working on. Typically it has been a pan that palette, but sometimes it has also been Pando's eyeshadows, and that has always led the majority of my eyeshadows just sitting unused, getting neglected, and I don't want that anymore. Another thing is that in 2019 I started my beauty no-buy, low-buy journey, and last week I did a declutter to get myself a step closer to a minimalist makeup collection. Eyeshadow is one category that is not quite there yet, but I feel the size is now small enough that it's actually realistic to work on the whole thing at once. And we are going to talk about my numbers in a minute, pan percentage and all of that. But before that, let's talk about the goals that I have for this project. So goal number one, I want to get use out of my entire eyeshadow collection, not only a selected few like I have done in the past. Goal number two, I want to hit pan percentage of 100. Yes, you heard me right. Pan percentage of 100. It's going to take a while, but I don't think it's impossible, so I'm really excited to take on this challenge. Goal number three, I want to downsize my collection. I don't know yet what the ideal size of my collection is going to be like in future, but at least right now I feel it's still a little bit larger what I would like it to be. Plus I do have some eyeshadows in my collection that are quite old, and I really want to at least get some good use out of those eyeshadows if I am not able to finish them before they stop performing. And the final goal is to do an eyeshadow no-buy, at least for now. I don't know yet how long I'm going to continue the no-buy, but at least right now I'm really motivated to actually see the numbers go down, see my pan percentage growing. So if I'm going to buy an eyeshadow palette, that is of course going to ruin my progress. But let's talk about the numbers a little bit, where we are starting this project from. I do have currently 4 eyeshadow palettes in my collection. 3 of them are pre-made palettes. One of the 4 palettes is a magnetic palette with depotted eyeshadows. In total I do have 43 eyeshadows in my collection currently, and I have hit pan on 10 out of the 43. That makes my pan percentage 23.26. There is still 33 eyeshadows in my collection that I have not hit pan on, and yes, my goal is to hit pan on every single one of those 33 eyeshadows, except if there is a shadow that I really do not like enough to hit pan on, because I really do want to go towards a minimal makeup collection where there's only products that I love. So on that case, I'm going to declutter that eyeshadow. So that is where we are when it comes to numbers, and this is what my eyeshadow collection looks like when you look at the palettes. Maybe I also will take a picture of all of these palettes like together so that you can see the color story. I do have really warm undertone, and I have just learned that cool eyeshadow doesn't look good on me, so my preference is warm neutrals. Also these days I do like rather light eyeshadow looks, so I don't like to do super smoky eyes or anything. So you can see that my eyeshadow collection for the most part is warm and light. But let's go through these eyeshadows palette by palette, and let's talk about my goals and plans for that specific palette for the fall time. So next time that I will do kind of like a recheck with the goals is going to be in the beginning of the year. This is my magnetic palette. The palette is from Tarte, but it's no longer available, but I just really love this palette. It's really good quality, and I do like the leopard print. So this is my magnetic palette. And I'm going to show you a picture here what it looks like. There are some cheek products also. Of course I am using those constantly, but in this project we are not going to focus on them. But the left side of the palette is eyeshadows. The eyeshadows that I really want to focus on this fall are all of my The Balm eyeshadows, because they are the oldest eyeshadows in my collection. So the rectangular pans on the top of the palette are either from The Balm Meet Matte Nude or Meet Matte Trimony palette. And then on the bottom of the palette there are 3 eyeshadows, this and this, that are from The Balm Shady Lady Special Edition. And all of these eyeshadows are from palettes that I bought either in 2015 or 2016. So I really do want to focus on these eyeshadows now, because who knows how much longer they are going to be good. This dark brown eyeshadow is from The Balm Meet Matte Nude, and that palette I bought in 2015, and this eyeshadow is actually really dry. The reason I kept it is because it works perfectly on my brows. I do have a lot of control with the eyeshadow when I do my brows, because I would rather build them up a little bit slower than go in with something super pigmented and end up with a mess. So I actually only use that eyeshadow on my brows. I would like to finish that light cream matte, but I don't know if it is realistic for me to do it in fall. Today I set my eyeshadow primer with it, and I do notice that it is a little bit powdery, so it might be doable if I set my eyeshadow primer with it every day. Then I would like to hit pan on that matte peach shade. However, these pans are pretty deep, and nowadays for me with eyeshadows also less is more, and I just don't pack it on as much as I used to do in the past, but at least I want to focus on that. Then let's talk about the Shady Lady Special Edition shades. On the Champagne I have already hit pan, and I think that is an eyeshadow that I would like to finish, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it now in fall. Then there is that kind of peachy eyeshadow. That is something that I would like to hit pan on this fall. And then also that bronzy eyeshadow I would like to hit pan on this fall. Again, I am not sure how realistic it is to hit pan on those eyeshadows, but I'm going to set that to be my goal, because I want to focus on these eyeshadows. But on the other hand, I don't want to hyper focus on these and not let myself use the other eyeshadows if I feel like using other eyeshadows. All of the other eyeshadows in this palette, they're older too, but they are not quite as old. So because of that, those are my focus shades now. Okay, then last Black Friday I bought 2 of these Huda Beauty 9-pan palettes. I do have the Gold Obsessions and the Toffee Brown Obsessions. Let's talk about the Gold Obsessions palette first. I don't really like this palette. I don't like the shimmer formula, it is just really glittery, and overall the color story of this one is really kind of like pinky. So I have actually decluttered 4 out of the 9 eyeshadows, and again I will show here a picture of what this palette is looking like currently. So what I have going on in this palette is kind of pink but not cool toned palette. And this sort of color story is something that I can see myself reaching for in winter and in spring, but this is not at all a color story that I would like to wear in fall. Because of that, although my goal in this project is to pan my entire eyeshadow collection, this palette I'm not going to be focusing on at all now during the fall time, because it's just not the type of color story that I would naturally gravitate towards. Of course, if I feel like I want to reach for this palette, I can, but honestly I doubt it. So I hope I can get some good use out of this palette next winter and spring. I hope I could finish those shimmers. These shimmers go quite quickly, so it shouldn't be too difficult. And also those lighter mattes I think I possibly could even finish. But yeah, now in fall I'm going to take a break from this palette. I have used it quite a bit during spring and summer, and it's just not the type of color story I enjoy now. But let's talk about the Toffee Brown Obsessions. This is way more my kind of color story. It's warm neutrals, and although there's a couple of a little bit darker shades, this palette doesn't lean too dark, so I like that too. I have hit a couple of pans on this palette, and now in fall I would actually like to focus on the shimmers of this palette. Something that I have learned is that the Huda Beauty shimmer formula tends to be sometimes pretty creamy, and I think that is the case with this palette specifically. And because it's that way, I'm worried that the eyeshadows are just going to dry up and they're not going to be that good. So I want to get good use out of them before that happens. So I have hit pan on 2 of the shimmers, and this becoming fall and holiday season, I would like to hit pan on the 2 remaining shimmers. Also, I want to finish that lighter gold. That is actually what I am today wearing on the inner part of my lid. Then the outer part is the balm satin eyeshadow. I do think that light gold is a beautiful shade, and that is something I could see myself wearing on daily basis as a lid shade, so I don't think it's difficult to finish. These pants are also pretty small. Of course, I also want to get some use out of those mattes, but those are not official goals for me at this point. Then the last palette in my collection is the ABH Soft Glam palette. This is such an old school palette, but for me this is the newest palette in my collection. I have hit one pan on this palette. It's on the shade Sultry, and that's just because it was in my Pando's eyeshadows. Honestly, at this point I don't want to necessarily have too much focus on this palette. The goal that I have set for this palette is just to use each shade at least once throughout the fall, because I don't want to overwhelm myself with goals, and I just feel I first want to focus on some of those older shades and also on those Huda Beauty shades. I will say in this palette there are some shades that I don't know if I really want to have in future in my collection. Mainly the shade Rose Pink and Noir. I think pink eyeshadow is not really the most flattering thing on me. It really makes it look like I do have really irritated skin around my eyes. But we'll see if I find a way to use Rose Pink in a way where it just doesn't look that pink. And then Noir is a matte black. I don't even wear black mascara anymore. Instead I wear brown mascara. I don't wear black eyeliner, and the only thing I would do with a black eyeshadow would be to wear it as an eyeliner. So we'll see. That is something that I actually might end up decluttering at some point, but at this point I still want to kind of keep the palette the way it is. Also, I will say Dusty Rose on its own, if I put it to my crease, would look like a bruise, but I like to pair it with some of the warmer orangey shades. It creates a beautiful kind of like warm rosy shade. But yeah, this palette is not going to be a main priority right now, but I want to get some use out of it still. So that is everything for today and everything for my Pan That Eyeshadow collection introduction video. Hopefully I remembered to say everything I was supposed to say. If you have any questions, please ask down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye bye!